Guys, welcome back to the Now For YouTube channel. I've got something a little bit different for you today. Not my typical type of content, but hey, you know what? This is my YouTube channel, and I felt like doing this, so here we are. I'm doing it. Today, I am going to give you my top 10 favorite movies of this century, since the year 2000. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is my list. This is not the list. It is impossible to make the list because it is all subjective. Is that the right word? Subjective. So just keep in mind that you are not going to agree with my list. It's impossible. Maybe we agree on a couple movies, but you're not going to agree with the list. I will also give the disclaimer that I am certainly suffering from some recency bias. If you look at the dates that some of these movies came out, you'll notice they skew more towards modern present day than closer to 2000. So yes, I am human and I am susceptible to certain biases, sure. But guys, I'm excited to do this. I've been working on this list for a long time, and I will also say that I think your favorite movies obviously can switch and fluctuate. It sort of depends on where you are at in life and in your headspace. And so I'll just also say a disclaimer. These are just my top 10 movies right now, May 10th, 2021. This is the list over the last couple weeks that I've come up with through rewatching some of these movies and trying to decide where things fit here and there. First, we're going to start off with a little honorable mention section of movies that I really, really love and considered so hard and might have been in the top 10, but then I plucked them out and it shuffled back and forth and they ended up not landing in the top 10. These are my honorable mentions. Number 10, Dunkirk. This is a little bit of a divisive movie, and I understand that. I actually totally get it. I think that this movie is an absolute masterpiece, but I get why some people don't like it. It is not like a traditional narrative, but in terms of technical filmmaking and innovation, I think it's one of the coolest things that I've seen in the last, in the last century, I guess. The editing in this movie is so smart. And I guess that, it took me so many times of watching it to like really fully grasp the concept of what Christopher Nolan and his editor were doing with this cross-cutting of different timelines of things that are taking place on a timeline of 1 week versus 1 day versus 1 hour. And I think for sure when you first watch the movie, you're like, what the hell is going on? But then as you watch it a couple more times, you're like, oh, this is really, really cool. So you've got that, coupled with the fact that it's a World War II story. It's Christopher Nolan. They shot it all with IMAX and no lighting. It was all natural lighting, like shot outside, which I think is a huge accomplishment, especially when you look at the movie and you see how beautifully shot it is. It's like, damn, that's cool. So with that being said, I still totally agree that this movie is divisive. I just land on the side of like, whoa, that's sick, and not the side of like, that was not very traditional. I don't like it. So, Dunkirk. Number 9, The Big Short, directed by Adam McKay. Now, Adam McKay is usually like a comedy director. I think he did Step Brothers. So what I love about this movie is it takes a super serious topic, the 2008 financial crisis, and it tells it in a wildly fun, funny, and entertaining way. It explains the financial crisis to people in a way that's interesting. It's like, now I totally understand credit default swaps and AAA rated bonds versus BBB rated bonds, all that stuff. I don't fully understand, but I definitely understand it more now because I've watched that movie and they served it up to me on a platter for someone with my mediocre intellect to understand. But what I love the most about this movie is the editing. This movie is so innovative in its editing. It's a narrative film, right? But they edit it like it's a documentary. And this director, Adam McKay, also does this with his most recent film, Vice, about Dick Cheney. It's the same editing style. And it's a narrative scripted movie that's edited like a documentary. And I think that's so cool and so innovative. and it's so entertaining because it's fresh and it's something that you don't see that often. All the performances are obviously really, really good, funny, and it's paced really well, and you feel like you learned something. Number 8, we're 3 movies in, and we're already at 2 World War II stories. Number 8, Darkest Hour, starring Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill. I would say the number one thing that you take away from this movie is Gary Oldman's performance as Winston Churchill. I mean, he is unrecognizable. It's like you're watching that movie and you think you're watching Winston Churchill. I was almost in a trance watching that, and then I realized at the end of the movie, I just watched Gary Oldman in a fat suit play Winston Churchill. That wasn't really Winston Churchill. And that's when you know, like, when a movie detaches you from reality for 90 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it is, that's when it deserves an applause. And that, coupled with the score, the music, the production design, and then the overall story, like, it's like sort of a war film, right? But not really. I mean, it's not battles. You see the other side of it. You see the old guys in the boardroom trying to decide what needs to happen. And you see sort of the moral and ethical dilemmas that they're faced there, trying to figure out what is the best thing to do for our country, for Great Britain. So, number 8, Darkest Hour. Number 7, you can't have a top 10 list without old Marty Scorsese movie. Number 7 is The Departed. This movie, first of all, one of the greatest casts of the last 20 years, I would say. I just am a sucker for crime movies that take place in Boston, and this is the best one. This is the best one of that genre. Is it Martin Scorsese's best movie? No, I would probably say it's Goodfellas, but this is only the last 20 years, so we're going with The Departed. I don't have too much intelligent analysis of The Departed. I would just say I freaking love this movie. Number 6, Midnight in Paris from Woody Allen. So this movie is just fun to watch. It's shot in Paris, takes place in Paris. It's just fun. It's like a great world. And then the premise of the movie is very, very unique. This actually won Best Original Screenplay when it came out. So it's like a very unique idea, and it's a bit, I would describe it as magical. This character gets to go back in time through some sort of magic of Paris, and he gets to spend evenings with some legendary creatives of the past, like Ernest Hemingway and Pablo Picasso, to name a couple. But what I love most about this movie is the message. And essentially the message is people always think the grass is always greener. People always think, I was born in the wrong era. This was the golden era. And then you realize everyone in each era always thinks that. So I think the message of the movie is to appreciate your time and your life and not always to be looking for something different. So that's why it's on my top 10 list, because I love the message, but it's also just a fun, entertaining watch. Okay, number 5. How are you going to do a top 10 list without having some Quentin Tarantino? And my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, Inglourious Basterds. Wildly, disgustingly entertaining, as most Quentin Tarantino movies are. What I love about Quentin Tarantino movies is that his goal, for the most part, it seems, is to make something entertaining that people will enjoy watching, which I think, movies can sort of send a message and teach lessons and whatever, but I always think that your number one thing that you have to do as a filmmaker is you need to captivate your audience and you need to entertain them, because even if you have a message that you want to get across, you got to entertain them so they stay long enough to receive your message. Now, I'm not saying Inglourious Basterds has some sort of really deep message. It's about bunch of Jewish Americans going through and killing Nazis and some very exciting revisionist history. But there are 2 scenes in this movie that are perhaps the greatest written scenes of modern times. And that's the opening scene where Hans Landa, played by Christoph Waltz, rolls up to the French farmer's home, and they have a conversation in his house. And if you've seen this scene, you know that it is just a masterpiece of filmmaking, of building tension. Okay, so that scene, one of the greatest scenes, and Quentin Tarantino has actually said that's his favorite thing that he's ever written to date, is that scene. And then the other scene that's so good is the basement bar scene where Michael Fassbender gives away that he's a spy in such a cool, unique little situation that I think Quentin Tarantino kind of... It's a cool thing because it's like a cultural difference that I've experienced by living in Germany, but Quentin Tarantino kind of brought it to mainstream light, and a lot of people now know about this cultural difference. So try not to spoil it, but if you've seen the scene, you know what I'm talking about. So Inglourious Bastards. Number 4, and some people will probably be like, what? You can't do this? Yeah. Free Solo. I put a documentary as my 4th favorite movie of the last 21 years. First of all, I will say I believe that what Alex Honnold did, free soloing El Cap, is the greatest human athletic achievement ever so far. Okay, that's just me. So number 1, wow, a documentary about somebody doing that. Very, very cool. And 2, the fact, like kind of the behind the scenes of how they made this documentary, this production, this shoot, what they went through. I would recommend people to watch some behind the scenes stuff on the documentary Free Solo. And you see kind of, they captured lightning in a bottle in a kind of a 1 in a million sort of chance setup. I said earlier how I liked how The Big Short, a scripted movie, is edited like a documentary. Well, this documentary, Free Solo, is edited like a scripted movie. I mean, you see it's a guy going on a journey, and if you probably go through the movie, which I've actually done a ton as I was making my documentary, and seeing like these plot points that they edited very well to match up with traditional storytelling, and that's why the movie's so satisfying and so well done. And I will say the music, the score in this documentary, this movie, beautiful. I recently downloaded it on my Spotify, and I've been listening to this score as I walk around Schwäbisch Hall and try and get some creative ideas. So number 4 is Free Solo. My number 3 favorite movie of the last 21 years is The Prestige. Now, this is probably one of Christopher Nolan's lesser known, lesser watched movies. It is about 2 competing magicians in Victorian era London. And you know what? They shot it on a really small budget, and they shot London in LA. So that right there is really impressive. I think, and I actually read a book about this, a Christopher Nolan book, of that those limitations that they faced actually led to them figuring out creative solutions and making the movie better. I think this movie is a great example of having some production limitations that force you to get creative and in the long run make the movie better. This movie, you've got to watch it multiple times to really squeeze all the juice out of it and get the full effect. It's very, very smart. It's great acting from Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, of course. It's like a psychological thriller, and it's got great twists and turns that I don't think you would expect. Spoiler alert a little bit here. It's probably one of my favorite twist endings ever, and one of the most well-executed twist endings that I can think of. Where they got David Bowie playing Tesla, which is pretty cool. We got like David Bowie, this larger-than-life sort of superstar, coming to play this kind of legendary innovator of history. And in this book that I read, Christopher Nolan said, like, he's never starstruck when he's got some sort of movie star on set because he's worked with some of the biggest people. But when he had David Bowie on set to play Nikola Tesla for The Prestige, he was like, whoa, this guy's got kind of a otherworldly aura. And you can kind of feel it in the movie too. It's pretty cool. I could talk about The Prestige for a long, long time, but I just recommend that you watch it. My number 2 favorite movie, Martin McDonagh's In Bruges. This movie sort of flew under the radar a little bit, although I was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, I believe, and rightfully so. This movie it's a small movie about 2 hitmen who have a job that's gone wrong, and they go hang out in Bruges, Belgium. And it's super, super funny, but also very, very deep at the same time. It deals with like morals and ethics, but not in sort of a over-the-top way. It lets the audience arrive at their own conclusions, I think. Beautifully shot in the beautiful town of Bruges, Belgium. It's also got some twists and turns that you aren't expecting. I think Martin McDonagh, he's done 3 feature-length movies. He's done In Bruges was his first one, and then he's done 7 Psychopaths, and then he's done 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Mississippi. I think he's one of the best writers around. He's an Irish playwright, and translating his playwriting skills to movies is going pretty well for him so far. In Bruges, the script is just tight. Every second matters. You're not getting any fat in there. Everything that you see comes back to pay off, and it's just so satisfying to have like all these plants set up and then just pay off. Like, oh, this is how a movie's supposed to hit. And so it's wildly entertaining and funny. Colin Farrell's freaking hilarious in this movie. I watch this movie all the time. I think it's a little bit of an under the radar movie, so this is typically my go-to recommendation movie when people ask me what movie they should watch. So, number 2, In Bruges. My number 1 favorite movie of the 21st century is Sing Street. This is a little Irish movie that's set in Dublin, I think in the 1980s. My gosh, if you're feeling down or sad or anything, watch Sing Street. This is one of the most life-affirming, uplifting movies that I have ever seen. Now, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but because I can just tell you why it's my favorite movie. Watch this movie, and then all the way to the final frame, and then when it cuts to black, there's a little message before the director credit. And when I saw that, I was, oh man, this is my movie. This is my movie. So if you're interested, watch Sing Street. It's a great, fun watch that'll brighten your day and make you feel pretty good for a while. And then you'll see the message of the movie, and you'll see why it's my number 1 favorite movie of the 21st century. Thank you for watching my movie list. If you guys have a top 10 list, a top 5 list, whatever, please leave them in the comments. I love seeing movie lists. I love seeing what kind of movies people group together to put on their favorite list. So if you've got that or want to do that, please leave it in the comments and let me know if you've seen these movies, if you like them, if you hate my list, if you think that I'm an idiot for my list, or if you think that I'm a genius for my list. Give me it all. All right, guys? I think you can tell I freaking love movies, man. I love movies. So I'm sure my list will change at some point, but that's my list right now. Like I said, in the middle of May of 2021. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. That's all for today. Maybe go watch some movies this evening. Have a lovely day. See you next time.